It does what it needs to do. What? Why did it do that?
On that side of the system. So the old crappy one can only really run, you know, the wave maker, and it does that okay. You know, I don't have to worry about it. It's got enough power to do that. And then on the other side, I have 3 pumps running out of this here, a couple of aerators, and a few other odds and sods that are kind of not even a part of this, but just for power. The pumps that are running out of this system, one is 9,000 litres an hour, and one's 2,500 litres an hour, and another one that's 2,500 litres an hour. It's hard to get through. But in this setup here, there's 2 pumps. One runs a big triangle system. It's kind of funky. We're just filling up again, replanting it out. As you can see, it's like a big triangle, and the water gets pumped up from this sump, goes up into the top of it, runs its way down at some fair speed, and then back into that sump. So there's a pump for that. There's a 3,500 litre pump coming into the trout tank out of that system there as well. That system's got a big triangle and 3 grow beds run down there, so you know, it's a fair whack. So that's a pretty loaded up kind of system. The largest pump, 9,000 litres an hour, in that system over there, which runs those big grow beds plus a few seedling beds and that kind of thing out of the tank, 7 4. So this solar, I'll show you the screens through all these massive cables. You can see it's charging, little lights up the side going up and down. You can see the volts coming in, 132, 127, 129. Output is 220 at 50 hertz, that thing in the middle. And you can see the still here. The only trick is normally I'd use something about this one, this typical kind of shaft for a spark plug with a 5/8 on the end of it, with a little rubber stopper inside to grab the plugs out. And I found that I couldn't use that, so I had to use 2 of these half ones. So if you can see roughly, 2 of those is the long one. The long one's probably about 15 centimetres or 15 centimetres in length, but because of the brake boost, if you can really see in there, the torch in there, you've got the brake booster there, and the last power pack is underneath the brake booster down in there somewhere. So the long shaft was too long and it would crash into the brake booster. So basically you need 2 shorties, which are probably about 7 centimetres long. And with those 2, you put one onto the socket, the 5/8 socket for the plug, for that final hole at the end there, for the final spark plug. Drop it in the hole. You can just see the tip of this at the end. With the tip, you connect another one, which at the moment I'm using on the other end of that. But basically, the 2 shorty plates. So it's you know, 70 or whatever, and they'll be probably about 600 grams. About this time next year, by the time Christmas next year, they'll be well edible. So yeah, so the whole thing totally works by itself. And like I say, having the right kind of fish, I was going to get trout, but they more need meat and they want live food and whatever. But having the silver perch in the big tank over there means that you basically just rip off whatever and chuck it in the tank, and that's all they eat. Same with the yabbies, they're eating their own food that they're making out of food. And the same with the worm farm. You know, the worms are also going to get bigger fish when they get bigger. There's about 2,000 in that, and I put another stage on top of it and then separate them and they'll start breeding. So the system will basically feed itself with no need to buy any food, and you end up with, you know, 70 fish, whatever yabbies. I think I've got about 10 yabbies in there at the moment, because yabbies eat each other if you put too many in one go. And yeah, lots of food, so it's interesting stuff, it's good fun, and pain in the ass to have to move them. So yeah, I've got a massive crane coming, like an 8-ton crane, so I'm not going to empty all the soil out and bucket it or anything. I've just got a massive crane coming in, you can see part of it, lift one by one. Don't want to take this truck and drag it over and only started at the beginning of the week, and the biggest question was, do I build it out of wood or metal? And I finally decided to go with metal for strength. Now the truck that it's on is this little Isuzu, little crew cab, so it has enough for 6 people to sit in. And the basic idea is to build a structure on the back of it using recycled and repurposed materials. Has an extra bit of space for when we're travelling around Australia. You can buy a Patrol or a Land Cruiser and tow it over, but I thought, why not use a truck? It's a lot more stable and solid, and it gives us more room. So on day one, you can see that got the main sides up, the floor down, some side bracing, that kind of thing. This kind of build, it's always a hard question of how large to go with the metal. With a 50mm, 2.5mm thick mild steel, and it's probably a lot of overkill. It's also a lot of weight, probably sitting at about 400 kilos so far. But I really wanted something that would not fall apart, something pretty much unbreakable. So day 2, we got up the loft area. So the loft up there, which is right over the cab. It's quite a big cab, it's a dual cab or a dual cab truck. And that will give us another be big enough for a king size bed and about 1.3 meters tall. So not a massive space, but a good little loft for sleeping. And the downstairs area, the larger bridge of the loft with a smaller opening, all kind of gypsy style in the middle, and LED light doors either side. So pretty good, pretty happy with this week's work. I can't do full the commitments. I've got a pretty crappy back, so if I get sore I've got to stop. But pretty happy with this week. The truck wasn't slowing me down. I've had a few headaches trying to get parts for the truck. If the truck wasn't slowing me down so much, I've had a bit more done, but either way I'm still happy. It was a good week for the build, and everything's coming along well. Now I've just got to concentrate on the truck for a couple of days, so you can see it's already up there, and I've got to do a bit of suspension work. Just sort of started, so I've got to take all this suspension out, and replace all the rubbers in them, so they're pretty bashed around. So that's a very unexciting job for next week. I'd much rather be playing with my tiny house, because, that's where it's all at. But I've also got the roof pretty much screwed down. I've just got so there's the roof. So I picked up an absolute bargain with that. So there you go, just a quick run around week 2. And when this is built, it also goes on the truck. I've shown you before, we take the tray off. Everything else on the truck is blown. We just take all the side with a bad back, and now I've got heat. Heat kind of issues. We've got 38s, 39s, and that kind of thing for a couple of days. So I just wanted to do a quick one, even though I haven't done a lot. There's the skylight, got to cut that pattern out, and yeah, so it was a bit slow for the last week and a half. But the main thing is I'm really happy to have my truck with plates on it. It was a bit of an ordeal. For multiple reasons, and the main one being that this truck had been downgraded from 5.2 tonnes to just under 4.5 for a car licence, so anyone can drive it. But we had a bit of a dilemma as the paperwork had been lost and all this kind of stuff. It was done many years ago, 2002, and it looked like it would never be on the road again. Without this engine now on the road, I'm looking at about 8. So I'm looking at bringing my gypsy style motorhome to 2. I'm looking at about 1,300, so I've got about 700 left to go. Because I've splurged a bit on my beautiful old panelling that'll go on the outside. Really thick, 2mm thick. I've already got them all cut up, ready to go. So these are all ones for the side here. And once I'm rolling, because I've got a lot cut up now, that won't take long to put on, and it'll make a total difference. This will go from looking like a frame to looking like a gypsy style truck. So.
Alright. Howdy people. So today I'm doing a heater fix. So it's a Rinnai gas heater. I don't actually know what model it is, so we'll come down to where we are. So this is the Rinnai. It's It's probably about $3 as a heater. We didn't pay that, we got it secondhand and I plumbed it all in myself. It pretty much fit in the hole here, which was good. It's in a fireplace, so it's flued out properly out the back end of it. You can't have these inside without a flue. You die pretty quickly from CO2 poisoning and that kind of thing. Yeah, so we actually brought it off a woman who hated gas heaters. She was paranoid about it, so we got a good deal. Now, the biggest problem I get with Rinnai heaters, and I think it's across the board, it's pretty much most heaters, you get different errors and you pretty much have to call a service guy out and you're up for hundreds of dollars. Now, the most common one I'm getting is error 90. This is a seasonal error. So once a year you would have to basically, ring up the servicing department and get them to come out. It's a pretty easy fix, and at the same time, it's the general maintenance which is necessary for owning a gas heater, which is just getting all the dust out of it, making sure everything's in good condition inside. So it's a bit of a service maintenance, and we're going to fix error 90. So this is a Rinnai gas heater. So we're pretty much going to start with the beginning. Now, what we're going to do is I'll show you the tools we're going to use. So we have a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, pretty simple stuff, and a little bit of very fine wet and dry, which we're going to use to basically clean the igniter inside. So error 90 is it's the ignition is having a problem. Now, if I turn this heater on right now, it'll probably just work. But what happens is when it gets up to temperature and goes to reboot up, it won't. And you'll get a red flashing light, error 90. It actually comes up as a few different kinds of errors as well. So it's not always the same error. But error 90 is what it's throwing this time, when before I've had it under a different error, which is kind of weird, but that's what it does. So simple job, Phillips head, sandpaper. All right, so first up, we've got this screen here. So just the screen to stop you burning yourself. So we want to lift it up, pull out the bottom, and it just falls away. So a nice simple start. Something will probably go wrong. Now, I've got a vacuum cleaner sitting next to me because you see here all the vents are filthy dirty. We've got dirt all over the window, so this will need a bit of a clean as well with a bit of glass cleaner or whatever. But that's what we're going to do as we go. Now, if I can get a little camera, Mum, to the side here, it'll be, is it face or down or whatever it is? Yep, that one. Get rid of that title off me. Sorry, I've got an L-plater doing some stuff for us. So the next step, we pulled the front grille off. Now we're going for this bit here. So we need to separate that. And as you saw, if you pull from the bottom at a bit of an angle, this just falls out. It's just held in. You can see there's some notches that just go up into the heater. So that one is not screwed in, so you don't have to worry about that. Now this is where Phillips head comes in. Under here, I don't know if I can get to it. I'll see if I can. Under here is a screw. So you can see that. That's a Phillips head screw. So we're just going to undo that screw, and we've got one on the other side as well. So they're not very long screws. They'll come out pretty easily. So I'll just get to that one out. So this is holding on this front plate here, the glass panel on the front. Now this screw's just kind of hanging there and not wanting to come out properly, but that's okay. A couple more turns and it should just pop out. There we go. So magnetic screwdrivers are good too. You don't lose your screws. All right, now we just do the other end, which is pretty simple. Same deal. I'm just feeling around for it. I can't be bothered leaning over. My back's too shit. All right. So 2 Phillips head screws at the bottom of the glass panel. Don't lose them. They're not that special, but don't lose them. They do have a weird thread on them. All right, so now this whole panel will come off. Give us like a, whatever. All right, so lifting the panel out, and it's got a few clips on the top. So we've got clips along the top here. So bottom will swing out, which is where it was being held in with the screws, and then lift up. So bottom out and a slight lift up. Put that away somewhere. We'll be vacuum cleaning that shortly. All right, we're into the guts of it now. So you've got all your computer circuitry, gas inlets. Obviously these are all automatic, so That's what they do. They take care of themselves. But the more computers, the more problems you're going to have. But this is not a computer issue. This is over safety issue. Now I'm seeing a fair bit of dirt and dust, which doesn't help anything. So we'll deal with that in a minute. Now we've got this grate here. So it's a fine mesh grate, just trying to stop dust getting in. It doesn't really do a very good job because there's no dust on it. It's probably a little bit big really to stop dust getting through. But anyway, so this one, it has two little tabs. You can kind of see each tab here. So what I'm going to do is get it from the middle and pull it up and out. So when it just sits in those side things there. So you'll see how to put it back together, but that just comes out. So we're pretty simple stuff. All right, now this is our next screws. I don't know if this camera is going to pick them up very well, but we'll do our best. Now this here is an igniter, and there's another igniter down this end. So it's got two. So these send through a spark, which under here is where the gas is coming out, and it'll ignite. So these screws are a bit funny compared to the other ones. And all this is quite bendy. You can see putting a bit of pressure on it. It's all bendy stuff. So again, don't lose these screws. They always feel funny coming out of this. They're like a weirded thread metal screw. All right, now you can see the igniter there. Now I need to wiggle and jiggle a little bracket back. So this little bracket here, I'll pull the whole igniter out so you can see it. It's got a little bracket, and the top end of the bracket here slides out. So you've got to slide this piece here, the little metal piece, not the white bit. You've got to slide it out and back, and it'll pop out. So you can see the igniter here. It's basically just a piece of metal, but I can see by the colouring on it that just due to heat and carbon build-up, it's not going to be sparking very well. So pretty simple solution. We find our wet and dry. I normally use a diamond-tipped file for these kind of jobs, but I can't find it. It's gone walkabout, and I don't want to waste all my day trying to look for it. So very fine wet and dry is going to do the same thing. So all I'm doing is cleaning the tip. So we've got the tip of the igniter here. You don't have to go down very far, but just the tip. You want to get all that carbon off. So make sure that tip is nice and shiny again. Now that's looking good. So this is probably done once a year. So you can see there, igniter will be happy now. So I'm going to put this one back instead of just letting it hang out everywhere. Now there's only one way to put them back too. If you can see here, come a bit closer, it's got a notch on this side, like a flat side. So it's round all the way around, and then there's a flat side here. You have to line up the flat side. You'll see when you put it in that it has a flat side, and there's only one way that that's going to fit back in. So it's like a puzzle piece, and you just got to kind of twist and turn until you get that in. Got to be able to get lower. Now it's been a bit dicky, which is always the bloody way. And I can see where it should go. It's just bumping into the internals, and I just have to go a bit deeper. All right. So that's it there. So there's only one way it's going to go, and that will make everything line up. Now we've got our little collar. We have to bring the collar up, and it's really hard to see in there. I don't know if camera will show me, but I'll get a light. So I don't know if that's really seeing much of what I'm doing, but so over the collar, I can't really hold the torch at the same time. And then all right, so that locked in, so it went up and then pulled forward. Yeah, that's annoying. All right, so up and forward, that's back in. Now I've just got to get my little screw, and this is where you want magnetic screwdrivers because it'll easily just fall off into the bottom of the heater somewhere. And I know I've got my hands in the way, so it's not very easy to see what I'm doing, but it's just how it goes. So it's not lining up, which is typical. I can't see where that screw is supposed to go. I've just got to feel around. Come on, screw, where are you? I can see it right there. Not wanting to go in. There we go. That's the noise we wanted to hear. All right, so just do that Phillips head up quite tight. That's nice and locked in, so that will be in the correct position. All right, now we're going down to the other side. So this is the second igniter. Can you see it, Min, or I'm in the way? All right, so we have another screw underneath here, which again is probably pretty hard to see, but you get that. All right, so another screw under here. We're going to pull that out, and this is the bigger version. So this is the main igniter. The other one's secondary. So pull that screw out. The whole collar thing is going to fall off, and then we've got to push the collar out, which I can't see. Right, there goes the collar. So that's the metal collar hanging off the edge there. Once that's out, the whole igniter will come out. You've just got to jiggle it a bit to get it out because this always gets in the way. All right, so this is the main igniter. You can see it's a double pronged igniter. Now we're just going to do the same deal. I'm really uncomfortable. Oh, my knees, God. All right. So we're just going to clean these up as well. Same deal. Just sandpaper. And we just want to clean off like the first few millimeters and the front, because the front flat parts there, that's where most of the spark's going to come out of. So yeah, try to use the finest wet and dry sandpaper you can buy. The finer the better. This is actually a little bit rough, but look, it'll do the job. You just don't want to wear the metal out too much, but it would take 20 years to wear them down to a point where they wouldn't function, and you can probably buy them for like 30 bucks or something. It's just two pieces of copper wire going through an insulator here, a ceramic insulator. All right, so again, this is like once a year. Do this, save yourself some money. It's not dangerous. You're not playing with gas. There's no electricity coming out of this. You don't even have to shut the heater down. It's not on. It's not going to spark. And even if it did spark, it's not going to hurt you. It's like a very low zappy thing. It's not like a taser or anything. All right, they're pretty happily clean. Now I'm just going to wiggle this baby back in. Now this is the same. You can see a flat edge and the rest is round. So we've got a flat edge and round. You'll see when you go to jam it back in, that's how it sits. Now we've got to pull our collar up, which is now kind of jammed underneath. So I've got to pull it out a little bit. All right. And now we've got to try to line up. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but all right. So now I've got to line up this end piece. Goes in first before the screw, like so, and it pulls back to lock into place. So now we just need our little screw. That's all going to fall off if I let it go, but so be it. All right, there's our little screw. We'll just make sure that's locked in. And in we go. For that one, nice and tight. That's nice and secure. Everything's sitting where it should. All right, so you can see pretty dusty, pretty dirty. See, we've got some little friendly spiders living in here. A lot of dust through the fan, obviously. The fan motor and that kind of thing. So I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I'm just going to pull out a vacuum cleaner and give this baby a bit of a go over. So a bit of noise coming. I'll see if I put, I think that mic's got a low cut filter on it, so hopefully you don't have to hear too much. So just get in everywhere you can. Be wary of electrics when you're doing this and the computer parts. So I wouldn't be jamming it anywhere near that computer section up the top here. Just go over any parts that you can, but do not go jamming a vacuum cleaner where you can't see what you're doing. You could knock something, and obviously you don't want to be playing with gas or electronics. So like I said, I didn't shut this down, but you should. There's a few filters on the side here. Get the filters clean. There's some filters on the side here too. They've got temperature thermometers, so it's reading what's coming into the room. Now the rest of it's pretty safe to just jam it in everywhere you can. Now the fan's where most of your dust is going to accumulate, and you just don't want dust in here because you'll be doing the job earlier than you want to again, just from all the dust getting blown back onto those igniters. Alright, and we'll try to get some off the actual fan. So this is like a barrel fan. Have a good look around, like I've found a big piece here of hair or whatever. So we don't want that. So the big barrel fan will collect a heap of dust. So just run over it the best you can. And then once we're reassembling this, we're going to vacuum out the front plates as we put them back in as well, because that stifles the oxygen trying to get into the heater and get into the fan to blow around the room and whatnot. Now these Rinnai heaters are really good. We've had no problems apart from this basic servicing, which again is about once a year. So it's not a big problem to do. Whoop, sucking up all my sandpaper. All right, so Zach, what are you doing there? Oh, all right. Now, we're going to go and put it all back together. So, our main faceplate here, we're going to lift it up, and on the top of these tabs, on the top of this, you'll see behind here, there's little tabs. See the tab, 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 and tab. We've got to line them up with these holes here. You'll see there's holes across the top. So when we do this, we're going to be lining up the top with the bottom hanging out so it sits in nicely. And just like that, it should just fall back into place. It shouldn't be a big problem. Now I'm just going to make a bit of noise again and clean this main inlet. So very dirty and dusty and dust all over here. So a couple of seconds and we'll be done. All right, as a bonus, we might even put it back together properly and put our little filter in before I put all that away. It was hiding under here, so it made me forget about it. All right, so this is the main filter. We'll give it a real quick go over. All right, so main filter. We're coming in from each side. So you'll see here, there's a wing and there's a wing. You want to stick it in where the wings go, stick it in the other wing, and then you want to lift it up and click it down. So it should sit behind these two little ridges here. It should sit flat and not let air go buzzing past it. So that's the main kind of filter internally. Now we'll line up this one again. You get the bonus of seeing this done twice. So again, bottom out, and we're just looking to line up the tabs, which is as simple as that. Now we've got our screws. We've got to put our little screws back in, which were the underside screws. So you can see that, like, mucking around a little bit because I'm filming it live or whatever. This is, I don't know, a 5-minute job. It's probably taken me a bit longer because I'm stuffing around, trying to move cameras and show you what's going on. All right, so we've got the two main screws. So again, you only need a screwdriver and a bit of hoober-doobers on you. All right, bit of sandpaper. All right, one more little go in this one. We're just going to vacuum all the dust out of this one. This one gets the most. All right, I'm being told to give it a duster with a dust. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, vacuum cleaner can shut up. Now we've got tabs again. Got a tab here, got a tab here, and two more down here. So it's just a matter of lining up all the tabs, and you'll see in here there's the hole for the tab is on the bottom. So we start by putting this in bottom first. So you can see where the tabs are. You want to line them up. They're now lined up and holding in. Now you just want to give it a good jam. Bang. Our job is done. So I'll boot her up. So you can see how beautifully she starts. All right. Now, I'm going to clean that glass, so I don't want it to get too hot. Don't clean the glass if you've had the heater running for any time. But just so I don't bore you, we'll do the last bit, which is putting on the safety screen. So we've got safety screen, we've got tabs here. All right, someone just gave me the cleaner, so we'll give it a quick go. So a bit of Windex or whatever. And again, don't do this if the heater's been on, you will crack the glass. Now the heater is on, but it's going to take a while to warm up to anything hot, so it's not a problem. This glass has had a few stains on it. I don't know, kids throwing lollies into it or something that will not come off. I would need to get a razor blade scraper out to actually clean it properly, because you know what kids are like, they just buggerize things up. So that is pretty much as clean as that's going to get unless I get a razor blade out. So that's going to have to do. And you could give that a bit of a whack. Any dust out of these corners. And that's us. So the last part is putting the safety screen on. All right, so safety screen. We're going into the little holes up here. We have these notches. They're like a bent piece here. So the long bend at the top, the shorter stumpy one down the bottom will go down the bottom. So just line them up, put them in, and then line up the bottom, and that's it. There we have it. We've got our Rinnai serviced, cleaned, and back doing what it should be doing, which is working. So not a hard job, not a dangerous job, something pretty much, you know, anyone could do. So if you've got a heater that's giving you problems, if you get any errors, look up a manual. Go and have a look for a manual and find out what the error code is. But I could guarantee that 99 times out of 100, it's going to be the igniters. It's the only problem I've ever had with gas heaters, is the igniters getting very dirty. So that's it. That's pretty much a wrap. There's nothing more to say. If I get a different error, I will, yeah. Hey, like and subscribe. See you later, foals.